My name is Papa Tony, and welcome to the first episode of the Papa Tony podcast. I am here with Connor G.
What's up?
And I'm going to give you guys a little bit of information here about my new podcast. It started up. It's going to be bi-weekly and at least once a month at maximum, but I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to talk with some of my dear friends that I might be inviting into the studio, and we're going to be talking about just what's going on in our lives, or world topics also. Not just local news, but just things that I think need to be, the world needs to have attention to. So what you guys are going to be hearing me talking about is something I feel very deeply about, and something that I hope that us together, humanity making a difference together, will be able to end or maybe improve upon. So, Connor G., how are you doing today, man?
Doing just fine. Had a long day at school, but I'm going to have a good day at work today.
And where do you work?
Up at Cahen in Greenfield.
Oh, what is that?
It's a factory that makes car parts for Hondas.
Car parts for Hondas. That's fun. How many parts a day do you do? And, what kind of parts do you make?
On minimum, we'll have around 800, but a normal day will be around 1,200.
That's more than a few. That's a lot of parts.
Yeah, it's a lot, and I'll do that just in a 5-hour shift. If I work an 8-hour shift, it'll be sometimes even reach around 1,600.
Really? All right, so the only work experience I have is I've worked electrical before. I obviously work at the studio here, and then I've also done landscaping, and I worked at a Brazilian bar and grill before. But nothing sounded that sounds monotonous.
Well, I worked at Subway for a while, and honestly, I just don't like talking to people. They're rude, and they don't communicate very well. So I'm a very blunt person. I'm very direct. If you know what you want, just tell me, and I'll do the same to you. But not a lot of people are like that. But in a factory job, you're just doing the same thing over and over, no differences, just repetitiveness, and I like that.
That's actually a point that I'd like to make, is that one of the things I've noticed in the school nowadays is that going through the hallway, no one is really ever talking to each other. It feels like everyone in the hallway is just going about their business, going to class, ignoring each other almost. And it's almost the same way anywhere you go. If you go to a mall, people aren't talking to each other. And maybe it's just me being nostalgic, but you see pictures and stuff of, the 1950s, or really any time before our generation, it seems like people would congregate in public and be able to talk to strangers and still make not friendships, but acquaintances at least, and just have engaging conversation with other people. And it seems like our generation, maybe a little bit older than us, is just not open to meeting new people.
Yeah, it almost seems like the newer generations, and a lot of our generation too, it seems like they almost have more social anxiety, or they're just afraid to meet new people, or they just don't have the urge.
That's something I hear a lot of nowadays, is self-diagnosed anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And I say self-diagnosed because people are just afraid to talk to someone else. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to engage with someone. But I think for the most part, if someone came up and talked to me, or just anyone wanted to talk to someone, the person who's being talked to, the person who got engaged in the conversation, they would be open to it. But it's just starting it, I think, is the problem.
Mm-hmm.
If some random person came up to start talking to you, I don't think you'd shy away from it. I think most people would be willing to talk to them, but no one's going to be that stranger who walks up and talks to someone else.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Anybody's willing. It seems like almost anyone's willing to have a conversation. It's not like they're going to just ignore you, but everybody has that fear that they're going to walk up to someone, put themselves out there, and just get totally shut down.
Yeah, and I've been shut down in conversation before. I'm not going to say I haven't, but I feel like it doesn't happen as often as people fear it's going to. And I think in general that people not talking to each other as often has led to almost, honestly, it's led to cliques, and I think that's why by the time people are in high school, everyone has their own clique, their own little group of friends, and hardly strays outside that little group of friends because they don't want to go make new friends. We used to have a group, you and I did, with several people in it, and it fell by the wayside because, just high school drama, which is a whole nother subject, a whole nother podcast episode worth.
Yeah.
But it's hard because everyone is afraid of starting that conversation. So it's hard to go find those new friends because even if you get past that first conversation, that first interaction, you can't engage them every time because then it's just a one-sided friendship and you get annoying. So I will admit it is hard to find someone that gives you back the same vibes that you're giving to them.
Yeah.
So my first topic today, one of the topics I found, it's kind of just a general news thing and something that relates to us pretty hard, I guess, is that in Afghanistan, an Afghan army soldier attacked the headquarters of... I'm going to pull up my phone real quick because I've got the information on my phone. I don't want to recite this from memory and screw it up. On Thursday, so earlier today, a gunman wearing an Afghan army uniform opened fire Thursday on participants in a meeting with the top U.S. commander in Afghanistan, killing at least 2 top Southern provincial office officials and wounding at least 3 others, 3 Americans. And American General Austin Scott Miller was the target of the attack claimed by the Taliban, and he escaped unharmed. And it was in the province of Kandahar, which is... We've been in Afghanistan since, I think, 2001, early 2002, and Kandahar is in southern Afghanistan, and it's still some place that we still have no control over. It's just one thing I absolutely hate reading about and hearing about is that we have this war going on and we have no way of ending it. There's like, we were children when this war started. We were babies. Some of us weren't even born yet, and yet we've lived with this war our whole lives that is still just stalemated. And I think it's just kind of sad reading about that. Like, did you have anyone or know anyone or have any information about like the Afghan war, anything like personal or anything like that?
I don't actually have anything personal about like a family-wise because none of my family is currently serving. But I know what it's like for a family member to have been passed in the military or something like that, and it's just the way he talked about war is... I can't even describe the way he said it, but for as long as this war has been going on, you figure that we would have come to some kind of agreement by now because even wars that were so much bigger than this weren't as long.
And right, but I'm not going to sit here and claim that an 18-year-old and 17-year-old know better about war than the United States' top officials, but I'm not speaking for the entire younger generations, but I am speaking for a lot of people when I say that I think that it's just getting old and tired. That I think we are in this ridiculous war going on, and either commit to it and try and win it, or get out if we don't have a game plan anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, getting on a lighter note, I found this article that there's a website I like sharing. It's literally called happynews.com. So every time I'm on live or now on the podcast, I'm going to try and plug this out as much as I can because I think it's a great thing. And it was, this article was about this couple who used to live in Battle Creek, Michigan. They're an older couple, late 80s, and they had to move 225 miles away because he was diagnosed with cancer. Well, the couple was going to return to their old town for her birthday, the female's birthday, the wife's birthday. And in the meantime, the husband was diagnosed with cancer. But they'd already made plans for the pizza, but they couldn't leave anyways, you know what I mean? Like, it was that short order, and like when they got the call from the doctor's office. And the pizza delivery, he's 18 years old, still thought, because he'd known these people their entire lives, been ordering same place, just old couple, live in the same town, same pizza once a week, everything. He drove 225 miles to give them the pizza they ordered. And that's the type of stuff I want to try and exemplify on the Pop Tony podcast, is that people going above and beyond for other people. That even though, like, it might be the lowest point in their lives or close to, someone was still willing to go out of their way and maybe brought it up just a little bit, just even one notch above where they were. And I think that's awesome. I think that I wish more people were willing to be like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like on a happy note, like I found another one was the oldest living couple has a combined age of, I think it's over 250, or no, it was over 210, I think. He's like 109, she's like 102. Japanese couple had been married for like 80 years, and they still joke around with each other. They still sleep in the same bed together, and like that's another thing is like loving someone for that long to where you still think that even after 80 years of marriage, she is still the most beautiful person on the planet. That is something I hope to have one day, and I hope to aspire to.
Do you think you could have something like that, Papa Tony?
Well, I'd like to think so. I don't know if it's in the cards for me or anything like that, because you can never plan on 80 years of a future with someone. But I really hope that someone's like that, is holding someone that dear. Because I feel like with today's culture, we just don't get that as often. We see it all the time in high school, all the time in movies, TV shows. You don't get that anymore. You don't get that long-lasting love. There's always breakups, there's arguments, divorces. And it's like most students I've talked to, most of my friends, their parents are divorced, so they're not together for 80 years and just still loving each other. Like my grandparents are getting ready to celebrate their 55th anniversary together, which is a long time. It's not quite 80 years yet, but it's, half a century is a pretty long time to spend with someone.
Well, I actually saw an article recently about how millennials are actually decreasing the divorce rate.
We're also getting married less than other generations have been before us. So apparently being picky is a good thing, because it seems like a lot of millennials, their parents are divorced, but then so millennials are marrying less, but then divorcing less, which brings the amount of divorces lower. So apparently we should just be pickier with people instead of just, hey, you're attractive, let's get married.
Do you think that's one of the many reasons that divorces have happened, that some of our parents, when they were our age, rushed into marriage?
I think it was just a part of the culture for a long time, where after high school it was just expected of you to get married, where you're supposed to marry your high school sweetheart or just meet someone by the time you're 25 and be married. It was like lingering over. Millennials also get married later in life. The average age of marriage for baby boomers, I think, was between 20 and 25, and for us it's 25 and 30. That's the average age range, give or take, I think, from what I remember from this article I read a while ago, or a few of them I've read, that we get married less, get married later, which also makes more sense because we're more stable financially and we're more sure of what we want in life. So which I feel like is really helping to end the divorce rate, or lower it, not end it. There's always going to be divorces.
Unless we don't allow divorces anymore. Once you're married, you're married.
Yeah, just when you get married, you're married. You're done. No more. That's it. Or we could go back to polygamy, having more than one wife. So, I mean, instead of having that solves some problems, maybe. So, you can't divorce her. You just get a new one, old model. I'll have to cut this out of the podcast.
How do you feel about The Purge?
So, we had to pause there for a second because I was debating whether or not to cut this last portion out, but we talked about it and decided that keeping it real seems more honest and more fun. Just seeing the ramblings of what's going on inside our heads. And Connor told me he has an interesting question for me.
Well, almost everyone that's listening to this has either heard of the concept or heard of the movie or seen the movie The Purge. Now, my question or topic is, what do you think would happen if that happened right now in our current society?
I don't think there'd be so many violent crimes. Like in the movie, there's a lot of rape, there's a lot of murder, there's a lot of killing. But I think there'd be a lot more robberies, a lot more thefts, things like that, where people are actually gaining something. Because, I don't know about you, but even if I absolutely detest someone for a long time, I'm not going to hold a grudge for a year where I'm angry enough to kill them. However, if I am absolutely broke and crime is not legal, and I have a family to take care of, or crime is legalized, I will steal from a jewelry store. I'm not saying I will now, but in that situation where I finally have this chance to make money legally or illegally, and in the case of The Purge, nothing is illegal, so I think I would do it. It's morally wrong, but when you have to take care of the people you love, sometimes you can't have morals.
I honestly feel that once you are guaranteed a day in the year where all crime is legal, that actually creates more criminals because they plan all year for that one day to kill and steal.
Also, one thing I've always kind of wondered about the purge is that can you still get arrested in the purge world for a conspiracy to murder? Because like some of the people they try and murder, it's like really drawn out. So like if you get caught planning to murder someone on the purge before the purge, can you get in trouble for that? Like suppose the day before you get busted for something else, and then they find you trying to assassinate a local government leader or something like that. Can you still get in trouble for that? Because that's still conspiracy to murder, and crime isn't illegal yet, or crime isn't legal yet.
Well, this is purely from the movie, but in the most recent purge,
I have not seen the most recent one yet.
Well, the whole plot of the most recent purge was that the government was forcing people to purge, as in like they didn't force them to make the law. The law was decided by the government. But a lot of people protested the purge and refused to do any kind of crime. But the government sent out soldiers and were killing civilians so that they forced them to defend themselves and made them think that they weren't soldiers. They had them dressed up like just crazy civilians.
Now, this movie is obviously outlandish because I don't think any United States soldier is going to kill a civilian of the United States just because. And the military actually has rules in place where you can disobey an immoral order. Now, you can be sent to a court-martial for disobeying an order because you are, in fact, disobeying an order. But if the court finds that it was, in fact, immoral order and immoral order, you do not get in trouble for it. So I feel like we would not have entire regiments of the United States Army going around shooting people in New York. But that's just me. I don't know for sure, and this is a completely different hypothetical situation than what we have here. But I don't think the purge would help too much with crime.
So if you were an elected government official and the decision came down to you whether the purge is going to be legal or not, what would you decide?
I would say no, because I just don't think that there would still be crime outside of the purge, and it would just give people an excuse to do bad things. I feel like people would still be, it would create more criminals, like you said. It would create more criminals, and people who wouldn't be criminals to begin with, it would give them a little bit convincing to go and do bad things. So I wouldn't vote for it if I was a congressman or the president or Supreme Court judge. I would not allow or try not to allow the purge to happen because I feel like there's so many cons, absolutely so many cons of what the purge does, where the very, very limited pros aren't worth it, even in the slightest. What would you vote for?
I would also say no, because if you know that you're guaranteed a day to commit crime, you're gonna do it. Like even in the movie, it shows that very few people don't do anything. So if you know you're guaranteed a day to commit crime, and somebody pushed you in the hallway the day before the purge, you're just going to go out and kill him. Well, if the purge didn't exist, you move on. But if you guaranteed a day to kill this person and not have any consequences, then you're going to do it.
Yeah, that's kind of going along with what I'm saying is that people would, nowadays, even if you absolutely hate someone, hate them to their core and everything about them and everything they stand for, you don't kill them at the minimum because it's illegal. I would hope people don't want to kill each other in general, but it's how that happens sometimes. But the purge would give everyone an excuse to just get rid of that one person they don't want around. I don't think I'd be able to kill anyone. I don't think it's in me. I don't think I have that anger. I can be angry sometimes, but I don't think I have the mental fortitude to kill someone. I don't think I could live with that. Do you think... this is obviously a loaded question, but do you think you could kill someone? On the purge, of course.
I don't think so. But an interesting thought just came to my head. The purge, no crime, right?
Right.
Does that mean that any terrorist that comes into the United States on day of the purge and commits a terrorist act is not illegal?
That's also interesting, isn't it? We haven't really thought about that, but like outside forces acting on the United States, that's interesting.
Like, what if they decided, like, if the purge was decided a long time ago, and the purge was for some reason on September 11th? Would that terrorist attack not have been illegal, and we wouldn't have been going to look for Osama bin Laden?
I don't know, because the purge also says that you're not allowed to kill government officials above class 3A or whatever it is. So, I mean,
Were there government officials?
I don't
in
know.
the
I
Twin
mean,
Towers?
maybe there was like local government.
Well, that wouldn't be like. I think the class 3 and whatnot mean like senators and the president and the vice president and the Supreme Court. I don't think it means local mayors.
So I don't know. That's a really good question that I don't think this movie is ever going to answer, because we're talking about. I don't think that the producers and screenwriters of The Purge are ever going to listen to the Pop 20 podcast. But it'd be interesting to think about. It's definitely a good question, it's a good thought at least, definitely. So, Connor, do you have anything else to talk about? Because I think we just talked about something really intense for what this podcast is supposed to be. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent about the purge and killing people and killing government officials and terrorism. So do you have anything lighter-hearted at all?
Well, the only thing I've really heard in news lately is the whole Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande breakup.
Okay, I know they've been engaged for a little while now. I don't know how long exactly. Do you know?
I think it was only about 2 months, but she recently just called it off. Like, they're not even together anymore.
Really?
Yeah.
So, Pete Davidson is a comedian, and Ariana Grande, superstar, pop star.
Yeah.
And it seems like a weird couple to begin with. It doesn't seem like a thing that would usually happen.
Oh, it looked very weird, but they looked happy, but I'm not really sure why the whole thing went down, but they both had tattoos of each other. I know Pete Davidson had like 2 or 3. He still does. And I know Ariana Grande, she has one, and recently, I think either yesterday or the day before, she was seen in public covering it up with a Band-Aid.
Oof. And then she also gave him back the ring he bought, the engagement ring, right?
Yes, but a little thing that not a lot of people know, is that a while ago, he bought her a little pig. So she gave back the ring, but she's keeping the pig.
Oof. Do you know what the pig's name is?
I've heard a lot of people saying it, but I can't think of it right now. It was a very cute, stereotypical name for a pig.
Like Winnie?
Something like that, yeah.
All right.
I'm pretty sure Pete Davidson has a tattoo of the pig's name, and he doesn't even get to see it anymore.
Are they gonna have custody battles over their pig?
Well, they were never married, so.
Well, I mean, he should still have a right to see the pig. I mean, he bought it, right?
I mean, if you're dating a girl and she gives you a house, it's in your name, not even in hers.
Well, right, but I don't know if that would still work, because if his name is on the lease, then so if he bought the pig, shouldn't it still be his pig? Yes, if I buy a pencil and I give it to someone, I could still get mad at them for not getting it back. You know what I mean? Well,
it's another thing. If when you give them the pencil, you say you can borrow this, but if you say you can have this is yours, you can't get mad at them for not giving it back.
Or did he say it is our pig? It's your pig. It's my pig. We share this pig.
I do not know their personal conversations.
Right, but it's still just interesting about is she gonna keep the pig?
She did say she's keeping the pig.
And I think I'd be almost more upset. Obviously Ariana Grande is a beautiful woman, but that's your pig. That is literally your pig. I bought that pig. That's my pig. I don't think I'd let that fly. I would sue Ariana Grande.
I don't think Pete Davidson has enough money to sue Ariana Grande. I'm pretty sure that from all her movies and TV shows and songs, that I'm pretty sure she has more money than Pete Davidson.
I don't know what their net worths are. That would be worth looking up. We're going to go do that real quick, and then we'll be right back. So we have found the net worths of both Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande. He is worth $2 million, which, I mean, good for him. That's a lot more than what I have right now. And she is worth $50 million. So I think in the custody battle over the little pig, Ariana Grande has more money to spend on that. She could get better lawyers. That's very unfortunate for Pete Davidson. He lost his fiancée. The ring he bought her was $100,000. I mean, he at least got it back, but that's still big money to drop on someone. So
that's like 1/8 of his net worth.
So he lost his $100,000 engagement ring. He lost his beautiful fiancée, and he also lost his pig. This is absolutely terrible, terrible, terrible. So, Connor, do you have anything else to add before we wrap this up?
No, I do not.
Not a single thing. There's nothing we got off your chest, nothing you want the public to know here?
No.
All right, then. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I hope you enjoyed episode 1 of the Papa Tony podcast. I am Papa Tony here with Connor G, and I will see you guys shortly.